you ever felt frustrated by the lack of thought into the lore of the Jurassic franchise? And especially with the new movie Jurassic World Rebirth? Well, what if I told you that one simple change turned this entire movie into the strongest, most thrilling entry yet? And no, I'm not just talking about replacing the t-rexx. There's a whole host of canon lore which seemingly has been forgotten and unused. Because one of the confusing things to me about this film is, why did they decide to go to a completely new island when Jurassic Park and The Lost World and the novels respectively set up sequels which they could have used on different islands around the 5 deaths? I mean, we see it numerous times throughout the films that there's more than 2 islands. Sure, we have Isla Nublar, we have Isla Sorna, Site B, but there's 3 other islands around that location. Why didn't they just use one of them? They didn't need to manufacture a new island. Michael Crichton specifically wrote these islands in for sequels at a later date. They've now gone unused. That is just a tip here, because there are some crazy things on this list, and one of them specifically could have completely changed Jurassic World Rebirth and made it fit more natural with the lore. Now, we all know Rebirth is centered around the cast and crew obtaining DNA from 3 specific dinosaurs, the land, sea and air, in hopes of taking it back to the populated world to cure all type of medical diseases. Now, there's a huge disease in the books, which is canon, called the DX virus. In a nutshell, it's kinda like a mad cow disease but for dinosaurs. Now think of it logically, they could have used this disease out in the real world. I mean, the dinosaurs escape into the real world, that disease could mutate and start to affect humans. This would also fully explain why the dinosaurs are dying off in our world, rather than some climate change which only seemed to affect them 3 years after Fallen Kingdom. It would only further reinforce the plot for them to go to this island, get a vaccine from these dinosaurs to bring back to the real world to cure human beings, right? But nope, they didn't want to use the DX virus. I mean, Rebirth even shows us in its beginning scenes that they seem to be in some type of biohazard area, hence why all the scientists there are wearing biohazard suits. They do not do that in any other Jurassic Park movie. Even in Jurassic World, when they're handling all the embryos, the eggs, they're not in full biohazard suits. You would literally only need them suits for fear of being infected by something, hence why we never see them in any other Jurassic Park or World movie. They're not going to be infected by dino egg embryos and dinosaurs. I mean, they even have this t-rexx in a double cylinder chamber, like an airlock. I mean, they're setting it up perfectly for the DX virus, yet it goes unused. And I haven't even got onto the dinosaurs yet. You see, we know Jurassic Park and World had a whole host of dinosaurs they could have used. Hell, even mutants canonically, which they could have used, which didn't. I'm specifically looking at you, Theoryzerosaurus mutant, but I'll get to there later. You see, I always felt that the Jurassic franchise after World started to lack that horror element, and there's one specific dinosaur which I would love to see and is canon to Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. Now, I'm pretty sure by now, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you will know who I'm talking about. It's never been featured in a live action film, although is canon because it's part of the Jurassic World live tour. The live tour is canon to the franchise, so they could easily bring in, you guessed it, the Troodon. And I don't mean the Jenny Troodon variant which we see in the live tour, I actually mean the soft canon version from Jurassic Park the game. And I know you're probably thinking, well, why would this bring the horror element back? Well, these dinosaurs actually paralyze their prey. They have a bite which brings on hallucinations, severe convulsions, and by the end of it, the host is in a coma but is still physically awake, just unable to move. At this point, while you're still alive, the Troodon decides to lay its eggs inside of your warm body, presumably by opening a hole in your stomach, laying its eggs inside of your stomach, and they hatch while you're still alive. Kinda like a scene from Alien. These dinosaurs would have been perfect to find on this island, because we know from Jurassic Park the game, they were literally an experiment, and were considered too dangerous for the park. So Hammond had ordered them destroyed, except the doctor who was looking after them and created them decided not to do that, put them in a quarantine pen, and lo and behold, they escaped. You can just picture it now. They've gone to a 3rd island, which was the original facility for cloning dinosaurs for Hammond's park. Not Isla Nublar, not Isla Sorna, the 3rd island of one of the 5 deaths. They were manufacturing these dinosaurs there, the Troodon, other hybrids which I'll talk about later, which were part of Jurassic Park. The Troodons escaped, all the other dinosaurs escaped, they abandoned the island, left them there. As we know, the fall of Jurassic Park happens, years and years pass, Masrani Global buys out InGen, and they come back to this island. That will thoroughly explain why Jurassic Park stuff is there, these other dinosaurs are there, and they get on to making these other mutant hybrids. We don't need to develop an entire brand new backstory for our entire brand new island. It was given to us on a plate. Even one of the most terrifying dinosaurs I think in the franchise was also there waiting to be used, along with the DX virus. But we're not done there. There's so much more I need to cover. You see, many people believe that the t-rexx was from the Jurassic Park era. Now, we know that isn't the case. We know the t-rexx was actually the first attempt at a hybrid for Jurassic World. If you want to know all about the timeline and all the evidence for this, I've done another video on it here, but I would suggest watching that after this. Because I'm actually going to introduce you to some canon hybrids/mutants which were featured in Jurassic World, although we never seen them, which could have easily slotted into this third island's lore, potentially as mutants seen in some of the facilities. Now think back to Jurassic World. We have the scene in the lab and we see Dr. Wu's computer. There are 2 specific hybrid dinosaurs on there, if you can even call them that, which were featured, meaning they were somewhere out there and would have had to have been developed somewhere. The first one I'd like to talk about is the Therizinosaurus hybrid we see here. Now, it's only seen as the front half because it's the transition screen before it goes into the Indominus Rex. That right there is an unidentified Therizinosaurus hybrid, which they could have easily adapted to be a mutant. I mean, it even looks like a mutant on the screen. Presumably, this could have been a development in one of them facilities. Nope, but they decided not to use that. There was also an unidentified Pachycephalosaurus mutant/hybrid seen on the screen here. Again, could have used that or even been seen in one of the test tubes. Did they decide to use that? Nope. But you see where I'm going with this. There was a whole host of lore which they could have used, which would have fit in perfectly. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the idea that they're exploring an old abandoned Jurassic Park facility, which was then reused for the Jurassic World facility. I love that. But they didn't need to invent all this extra stuff to make that canon. It was there in front of them, as I'm explaining. And further to this, there was actually an original Jurassic Park attempt at a hybrid. Something fans have been obsessing about forever, myself included. Now picture this, we're not on some magical island they've made up, we're now on one of the remaining islands from the 5 deaths. On there is the abandoned Jurassic Park facility, which they then revamp to use for World and have their mutants in. Although this time, there's no t-rexx. It's one of the original monstrosities from Jurassic Park. We could have literally seen the Ultimasaurus. You know, the cancelled Kenner toy line from Jurassic Park Chaos Effect. The one made from the DNA of Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, Velociraptor, and Anki and a Stego. They could have completely revamped this design to be the t-rexx as such. Sure, they don't have to call it Ultimasaurus, they can call it the U-Rex, or literally keep it as the t-rexx. This could have been one of the original attempts from the Jurassic Park era. It escaped and was then let loose on the island, rather than it be from Jurassic World. Hell, you could even build it into the story if you wanted to say that it escaped during Jurassic Park's timeline. Masrani Global come back, recapture it, house it in this giant chamber. The reason it survived so long out in the wild was it was preying on all the other animals and dinosaurs there from the Jurassic Park era, and it's got extended lifespan being genetically engineered. Again, this hybrid/mutant could have fit in perfectly with a little bit of a revamped design to make it look a little bit less gimmicky in my opinion. Now don't get me wrong, I do love the t-rexx, I love its design, but I think if we wanted it to be more lore accurate, we could have easily inserted the Ultimasaurus instead, the precursor to Scorpius Rex, and then ultimately the Indominus Rex. And just when you think I couldn't possibly bring anything else into fold, there's something else which could come into the lore, and it would be absolutely massive, and I think this would possibly be one of the biggest things in the franchise yet, ending a 3-decade-long debate, and that is the adult Dilophosaurus. I know, it's a crazy one, but we know the adult Dilophosaurus does exist thanks to the Lost World Jurassic Park. As seen on one of the monitors in the Lost World Jurassic Park, we see this here, explaining how big the actual Dilophosaurus seen on Isla Nublar can grow. That indicates it's a full-size Dilophosaurus, just like the one from the novels. I mean, Rebirth thoroughly explains to us that this was an original Jurassic Park facility, then to go on to be a Jurassic World facility. Why can we not see an adult Dilophosaurus on this island? You could literally picture the scenes in the cinema. Fans, I think, would be going wild. But to set the tone perfectly, I've developed a little scene. It's not very long, but it sets the tone perfectly on how the Dilophosaurus could be revealed. Have a listen to this. Picture this. It's dark, late at night. The party are either camping or moving through darkness, and they hear the hooting sounds of a Dilophosaurus. Now, the audience immediately will recognize the sound, and they won't be alarmed themselves because they're so used to the Dilophosaurus being a joke. The cast, on the other hand, may not know what this is. They investigate, have a little jump scare from a small Dilophosaurus in a bush. They scared it away. The audience are then put at ease as well because, again, they know the only dinosaur which makes that noise is a Dilophosaurus. Then all of a sudden, they hear a deeper hooting noise, one they've never heard before. The audience are then took by surprise because the hooting noise they know is from the Dilophosaurus, but we've just seen that, and this noise is far deeper. One of the members goes off to investigate into the darkness, into the bushes. They hear the hooting noise again getting louder, with bushes rustling. The cast member is obviously really perplexed, thinking, what is this? They move up to the bushes, looking down at the floor as if to look for a smaller Dilophosaurus animal. When the bushes part and reveal a giant foot, the camera then pans from the ground, rising towards the air, way above the cast member's head, and there's a huge Dilophosaurus, an adult Dilophosaurus, peering down at the cast member. And this is the point where it strikes and goes black. That, for me, would be absolutely immense in this film. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like the look of Rebirth and everything which has happened so far. I haven't gone to an advanced screening, and my opinion could change after I've watched the film, but for me, to understand the future, you have to understand the past. And I believe Rebirth seems to be skipping over everything Crichton had given us. And I don't mean genetically modified locusts, I mean the island setup, the Troodons, the OG Ultimasaurus, the canon hybrids of Jurassic World, the t-rexx virus, the adult Dilophosaurus, which is also canon. All of this have been skipped over, but there's one specific thing I think which could change all of this, and that would have been just make the islands one of the islands from the 5 deaths. But what do you think in all this? What's the one thing you would have liked to have seen included? And have you seen the movie yet? Let me know your thoughts below because I read every single comment. And if you enjoyed this, please share it with a Jurassic friend, hit the like button and subscribe for plenty more Jurassic content. There's loads on the channel. I mean, I've talked about Jurassic World's restricted section, the Dilophosaurus, horrifying Jurassic Park media. It's all on there. I recommend checking it out after this to continue your Jurassic Park/World binge. A massive thanks to the InGen members who are on screen now, DVM Wannabe 1018, Hammer Time, and our Jurassic CEO, Joseph Frost's Ghost. Thanks guys, you keep the power on in the park. And if you came across an Ultimasaurus out in the wild, can your day get any worse? You bet Jurassic can. Catch you later.